She was her city's first female mayor. Now she's been found guilty of having sex with a minor. Her own children telling authorities they saw their mom being inappropriate with a 16-year-old at a pool party.
On July 20th, 2024, Misty Roberts, the mayor of DeRidder, Louisiana, hosted a pool party at her home. She provided alcohol to teenagers, including her own son and his 16-year-old friend. Throughout the afternoon, Roberts flirted openly with the teenage boy and posed for photos with him by the pool while wearing an orange bikini. Later that evening, witnesses say Roberts led the boy to a bonus room in her home and locked the door. Her own son looked through a crack in the window and saw his mother having sex with his best friend. Roberts' daughter also testified that she saw her mother and the teenage boy on top of each other that night. Roberts' nephew said he saw them doing stuff on a couch and told investigators, "From what I gathered, they were having sex." 5 days later, on July 27, 2024, Misty Roberts resigned as mayor of DeRidder. 5 days after that, she was arrested and charged with carnal knowledge of a juvenile and indecent behavior with a juvenile. On March 4, 2026, after a 7-day trial, a jury deliberated for less than 1 hour before finding Misty Roberts guilty on both felony counts. She faces up to 17 years in prison and must register as a Tier 1 sex offender. Roberts maintains she did nothing wrong and plans to appeal. Her attorney said there will be no apology. "At this particular point, there's no apology that I'm going to give on her behalf," defense attorney Todd Clemens told reporters. Welcome to Beyond Guilty. On this channel, we go beyond the guilty verdict of the judicial system and lay bare human nature. Misty Roberts was 43 years old in July 2024. She was in her second term as mayor of DeRidder, Louisiana, a city of about 10,000 people near the Texas border. In 2018, Roberts made history by becoming the first woman ever elected as mayor of DeRidder. She won re-election in 2022 with 60% of the vote. Roberts was divorced from Duncan Clanton in May 2023 after filing a year earlier. They had 2 children together, a daughter and a son. After the divorce, Roberts entered into what she later described as a severely mentally and physically abusive relationship with a local man named William Andrew Krantz. Court records show that in January 2024, Duncan Clanton filed a civil restraining order to keep their children away from Krantz. Clanton alleged that Krantz had alcoholic and suicidal tendencies and had verbally threatened Roberts in front of the children. He wrote in court documents, "If he is brave enough to take his own life, what is to stop him from shooting Misty, our kids, and himself?" Krantz died in February 2024, just 3 weeks after his lawyer filed a response denying the abuse allegations. It wasn't clear how he died. In May 2024, Roberts spoke publicly to a Louisiana news outlet about enduring a rough few years, including 2 hurricanes that affected her community, her divorce, and the death of someone close to her. "I've never been able to just be mayor," Roberts said. She told the outlet she aspired to run for a 3rd term in 2026. But by July 2024, rumors had been circulating around DeRidder about Roberts' allegedly inappropriate behavior with teenage boys, particularly members of the Beauregard High School baseball team. Her defense attorneys later filed motions to keep testimony about these rumors out of court, as well as any evidence that Roberts had sought rehabilitation treatment. These cases take days to research and investigate. Like this video and subscribe to help us continue. On July 20th, 2024, Misty Roberts hosted a pool party at her home for her son's birthday. Before the party, Roberts had asked her son what kind of alcohol he and his friends would like. Text messages later shown in court revealed. She provided alcohol to the teenage guests. During the party, Roberts wore an orange bikini and flirted openly with her son's 16-year-old friend. Photos shown at trial captured Roberts standing close to the teen, who appeared to be smiling and looking up at her. Prosecutors described the images as lewd and lascivious. At some point during the party, court documents allege that Roberts pressed her butt up against the victim while taking a photograph of him. She made statements about being attracted to him, put her hand on his bare torso, and kissed him in the backyard pool area. She told him, "We can't do this here." Roberts then led the boy to the bonus room of her home and locked the doors. According to court documents, she lay down on the couch with him and kissed him. She exposed her breasts while kissing him in the locked bonus room, the papers stated. She asked him why he chose her to have sexual intercourse with. A photograph taken by Roberts' son shows her sitting on top of the boy on the couch in the bonus room. Roberts' son later told the Child Advocacy Center that he looked through a crack in the window and saw his mother having sex with his friend. When he took the stand at trial, he testified that he saw them together but was unable to conclusively tell jurors what he witnessed. Roberts' daughter testified that she saw her mother and the boy on top of each other that night. Roberts' nephew testified that he tried to sneak a peek at what was going on in the room and saw them doing stuff on the couch. All three witnesses said the teenage boy was shirtless, though none said they saw the private parts of Roberts or the victim. The 16-year-old victim testified at trial that he was heavily drunk during the party and had vomited from drinking so much alcohol. He said Roberts flirted with him by the pool, began kissing him, and eventually took him upstairs and had sex with him. The victim testified that he ejaculated inside Roberts, which later raised concerns about a possible pregnancy. After the incident, witnesses testified that Roberts' son screamed at her. Jill Weaver, Roberts' best friend and former sister-in-law, recounted the clash. He was saying Roberts effed his best friend, Weaver told jurors. Roberts reportedly threatened to harm herself. Stories like this reach more people when you share them. After the pool party, Misty Roberts sent a series of panicked text messages to multiple people. She texted the victim's mother. The mother asked, "Out of respect for both our families, can you assure me that you can't be pregnant?" Roberts replied, "Yes." The mother pressed further, "So no protection? Are you on birth control? Have you had tubal hysterectomy?" Roberts responded, "Birth control. But it also didn't reach that point in those few minutes to have that concern. I understand the concern, but I can assure you of that." Roberts sent the screenshot of this conversation to a group chat with her friends. Her friends replied urging her to take Plan B emergency contraception. A DoorDash driver later testified at trial that he accepted a request from Misty C. to purchase emergency contraception and leave it at Roberts' front door. Roberts also texted her ex-husband Duncan Clanton, "I need to talk to you. I just need to tell you in person. I messed up. And I respect you enough to tell you. And I need to." The next morning, Clanton testified at trial. Roberts confessed the sexual encounter to him directly. Despite this confession, text messages show Clanton initially expressed support for his ex-wife. "You are a great mom, and that's what's going to be your foundation. That's what's going to get you through it," Clanton wrote just 2 days after the incident. "I won't turn my back on you." Roberts also sent texts to a juvenile witness with the initials HR, possibly her son. She wrote, "I love you and I am so sorry. I cannot even believe it. I am sick. That shouldn't happen. I really hope this doesn't blow up even worse. I'm scared to death. Please make sure he doesn't say anything, please. I am truly sorry." In another text to the same person, Roberts wrote, "I'm okay. Duncan just left again. We talked through more stuff. He is worried about you all. Anything new talk? All quiet." Testimony at trial established that Roberts instructed her children and nephew to lie about what they saw. She sent text messages that said, "Lie till you die." Roberts also texted a group, "I can't keep hurting others, friends and family. Lord knows I've done enough." On July 27, 2024, 5 days after the pool party, Misty Roberts resigned as mayor of DeRidder. Her resignation letter omitted any mention of the investigation into allegations that she had raped a minor. 5 days after her resignation, on August 1, 2024, Roberts was arrested and charged with third-degree rape and contributing to the delinquency of juveniles. She posted a $75,000 bond and was released from custody to await trial. The case went through multiple delays. Original indictments were dismissed after 2 judges involved in earlier proceedings were removed, leading to a mistrial. Roberts was later re-indicted and arraigned on charges of carnal knowledge of a juvenile and indecent behavior with a juvenile. The trial began in late February 2026. During the 7-day proceedings, prosecutors presented extensive evidence including photographs from the party, text messages, testimony from Roberts' children and nephew, testimony from the DoorDash driver, testimony from Roberts' ex-husband, and testimony from the 16-year-old victim himself. Defense attorney Adam Johnson admitted during closing arguments that a photo of Roberts in a bikini straddling the teen in the locked room was a real bad look. He argued, "It would not have happened without alcohol. Trying to be the cool parent in a divorce is stupid." referencing Roberts' 2022 split from Duncan Clanton. On Tuesday, March 4, 2026, the jury deliberated for less than 1 hour before reaching a verdict. Guilty on both counts. Carnal knowledge of a juvenile, which is also known as statutory rape, and indecent behavior with a juvenile. Roberts sat at the defense table as the verdict was read. The victim's mother had to remove herself from the courtroom because she was overcome with emotion. And when she left, you could hear loudly Misty's sobs, because the microphone was on in front of her at her table. Roberts was allowed to remain out on bond pending her sentencing, scheduled for April 17, 2026. She faces up to 10 years in prison for carnal knowledge of a juvenile and up to 7 years for indecent behavior with a juvenile, for a total of up to 17 years. She will also be required to register as a Tier 1 sex offender. After the verdict, Roberts' attorney Todd Clemens told reporters that his client is very, very disappointed with the outcome. He made clear there would be no apology. At this particular point, there's no apology that I'm going to give on her behalf, Clemens said. Roberts maintains she did nothing wrong and plans to appeal the conviction. Michael D. Harris, who was elected mayor of DeRidder after Roberts' resignation and became the city's first black mayor, told TMZ that the allegations shattered the town's image of Roberts as a good wife, mother, and person. In October 2024, in an unrelated case, Misty Roberts' 40-year-old brother, Brandon Lee Roberts, pleaded guilty to raping 2 people, an underage girl and a young woman. He began sexually abusing the teenage girl when she was around 13 years old. He subsequently received a 42-year prison sentence. Roberts posted bail and remains free pending sentencing. She shows no remorse and refuses to apologize. Her attorney says she plans to appeal. This is beyond guilty.